Chapter 209 Wang Qiu'er. Qiu'er could vividly remember that the handkerchief was embroidered with those 3 words. Can it be that she is? He didn't hesitate any longer as he applied strength beneath his feet. His body flickered as he pursued the shadow in the distance. This young girl was heading towards Shrek City, wasn't she? The young girl was extremely quick, as if she were a startled little bird. Qiu'er had been momentarily stunned before this, and now could only barely see the young girl's silhouette in the distance. She's so fast, she must be a 5-ring soul king. At least, she might be a 6-ring soul emperor. Wang Qiu'er. Wang Dong. Can she be the twin sister that Wang Dong spoke of? Qiu'er wasn't slow, but there was still a bit of anxiety in his heart, as he wasn't sure if he should just chase her like that. He knew who she was, but she didn't know him. Wouldn't that be a little brash? However, he could clearly feel the palpitations in his heart after just one glance at her elegance and gracefulness. This feeling was identical to when he had first used the raiment of light with Wang Dong, and he had seen the goddess of light. Wang Dong didn't lie to me. His sister actually looks identical to the goddess of light. Too beautiful. Simply too beautiful. I can't give up. It should be alright to at least catch up to her and ask her if she's Wang Dong's sister. It won't be so brash, given my relationship with Wang Dong. Qiu'er convinced himself with that, and gave all he had in this pursuit, with no further hesitation on his part. The distance between Shrek Academy's gate and Shrek City's gate wasn't that far, and it took a lot of effort for him to close the distance between himself and her shadow. She slowed down and entered the city. Qiu'er arrived at the gate 10 seconds later, and had no choice but to slow down here. This was Shrek Academy's territory, but most of the people that lived here, ultimately normal citizens, and traveling with the speed of a soul king was inappropriate. He stepped briskly into Shrek City. Throngs of people flooded the streets, and life was bustling as usual. He looked around, but could no longer see the girl anymore. Qiu'er's forehead creased. Even if he activated his spiritual detection within the throngs of people, it would be difficult to find just one person in the crowd, as his spiritual detection was not normal vision. He couldn't see faces through spiritual detection, and he hadn't locked onto the girl's aura before this. Qiu'er scratched his head, and felt extremely frustrated and disappointed. Perhaps they just weren't fated. However, he wasn't that dejected, as he was about to see his buddies very soon. More than 2 years had gone by, and he didn't know how everyone was doing now. I wonder if eldest senior brother and third senior brother are all right? And fourth senior sister, fifth senior sister. Is Wang Dong at the academy, or at the Tang Sect? I'll return to the Tang Sect before anything else. He retrieved a map from his 24 moonlit bridges. Bei had given it to him, and there were detailed directions to the Tang Sect within Shrek City drawn on it. The Tang Sect took up quite a lot of space, even though they were in a relatively isolated area inside the city. Shrek City's land was extremely valuable, and the fact that they could own a patch of land like it represented the academy's special treatment towards them. He lengthened his strides and worked his way through the city. He hadn't been back here for a long time, and Shrek City appeared as thriving and flourishing as it had always been. There were many people walking around in the city, and the shops and stores by the street seemed exceptionally popular. Shrek City was an important trade center within the Douluo continent, and Shrek City's prosperity had always been Shrek Academy's most important source of wealth. Otherwise, how could Shrek Academy support the Soul Tool Department's research? Qiu'er was moving towards the Tang Sect while a pair of pretty eyes gazed at him from a shop not too far away. This pair of eyes watched him as he disappeared at the end of the street, before the person stepped out from the shop. She patted herself on her firm and supple chest, as if she were congratulating herself on avoiding him successfully. The young girl's eyes flowed with mysterious amusement as she walked towards another street. This would be Qiu'er's first time at the Tang Sect, and he could only follow the lines on the map, so he wasted a lot of time looking for it. It took an entire hour before Qiu'er found the Tang Sect. He could see the Tang Sect's outer walls in the distance. The vermilion walls were more than 20 feet tall. 20 feet tall, and they extended at least 100 meters down the street. The Tang Sect's main gate was 30 feet tall. There was a giant inscribed board hanging from the top, with Tang Sect stamped boldly upon it. When Qiu'er saw the signature beneath the inscribed board, his emotions surged, and a wave of sentiment washed over him. N. Elder Mu was actually the one that had written these 2 words before he passed. Qiu'er reminisced about Elder Mu when he saw these 2 words, and he thought about another teacher that had just passed away as deep grief and sorrow welled up in his eyes. Teacher, he whispered under his breath, and Qiu'er's body quivered faintly. At this moment, the Tang Sect's main gate opened, and a woman stepped out to face Qiu'er directly. Nah. Qiu'er exclaimed in pleasant surprise as he saw this person. The young girl before him was the girl he had saved from the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, the girl with the Spectre Martial Soul. Nana was also pleasantly surprised when she saw him, and she took 2 quick steps forward and went down on one knee. Master. Qiu'er was astonished, and swiftly stepped to one side so he could avoid her greeting. What are you doing? Nana, get up. Nana refused to get up, and she shook her head vigorously as the rims of her eyes began to turn red. Qiu'er took a step forward as he grabbed her arm and brought her to her feet. Are you all right, Nana? Don't cry. Nana wiped the trickling tears from her face, and gazed deep into Qiu'er's eyes as she said, I will never forget how you remade me, and how you've given me another life. I only discovered what happiness is when I came to the Tang Sect. Master, you helped my parents' spirits rest in peace, and you've given me a whole new life. I will be your servant and your slave for the rest of my life to repay you for your grace. Nana's complexion seemed a lot better than the last time. Her pale skin was tinged with rosy hues, and her body was brimming with youthful vitality, while her mental state was also drastically different from before. Qiu'er realized what was going on, and he chuckled as he said, I thought you weren't happy at the Tang Sect when I saw you cry. Don't talk about grace and whatnot in the future, alright? You're actually older than me by a little bit, so you can just address me by my name and I will do the same. You're a part of the Tang Sect now, and that means we're friends. How can I do that? Nana rejected him decisively, and said, a servant must respect her master. How can I address my master by his name? I will honor the things that I've said. You're not trying to test me now, are you, master? Qiu'er forced a laugh and said, you think too much. Nana, listen to me. If you insist on seeing me as your master, that means you will never forget the past. If that's the case, then you can never be truly happy. Do you understand? I did not help you out back then because I wanted you to be my servant. I helped you because I truly wanted to help someone whose background and life experience was similar to mine. My childhood experiences are similar to yours. I've also lost my beloved mother. Our lives are connected, so how can I be your master? Forget what happened. Since this is a new beginning, it's better that you forget about the past. You have joined the Tang Sect, and you have contributed to building it up once more, and that's already the best you can do for me. Nana wanted to say something else, but she caught Qiu'er's determined eyes and swallowed her words. Master. Hey, you're still calling me that? Qiu'er pulled a long face. Nana said awkwardly. Qiu'er laughed and said, that's more like it. Are you off for some official business? You should go ahead and do your thing. Are my senior brothers and sisters around? Nana nodded and replied, Mr. Bei is here. You should go inside, sir. You don't have to call me sir. Qiu'er reminded Nana again and waved goodbye to her before he quickly stepped into the Tang Sect. He was just too eager to meet his buddies. A sweet smile flashed across Nana's face as she walked through the gate. She mumbled under her breath, you don't want me to call you that. Then I'll just call you that in my heart. I have recognized you as my master. Then you shall be my master. This is something that will never change. You can't take it away from me. She turned around and departed happily after she spoke. Qiu'er didn't see a sprawling courtyard when he stepped in. The front courtyard was small, and there were rooms on both sides. They were unornamented, and there wasn't much decoration. The feel of everything was quite different from what he saw outside. Most of the space was used to build rooms. 2 white-shirted youths came forward when he walked in and blocked his path. One of the youths, who was about 20 years of age, asked, what do you want? Qiu'er chortled and said, I want to come home. Come home? The youth was momentarily stunned. Qiu'er replied, my name is Qiu'er, and I'm also a part of our Tang Sect. Bei is my eldest senior brother. Is he around? The two white-shirted youths were both pleasantly surprised when they heard his words. The youth that spoke before this said, "So you're our sixth senior brother. Eldest senior brother is here. Let me take you inside." "Who are you?" said humbly. "I'm not as old as you guys are. You don't have to call me senior brother. Just address me by my name." The youth chuckled and said, "It doesn't work that way. Sixth senior brother. Eldest senior brother says we have to follow the chronological hierarchy of seniority after joining the sect. Furthermore, we are only disciples in name, and we will only become official disciples after passing the sect's assessment." "Who are you?" felt a tingling in his heart. It seems like eldest senior brother has established rules within the sect. That's a good thing. He didn't say anything else, and followed the young man into a second courtyard. The second courtyard was a lot more spacious, at least 300 meters across, and there were still rooms on both sides, with a towering structure in front. An inscribed board hung from the top, which read conference hall. Who are you? Could hear laughter coming from the conference hall before he even reached it, and he could no longer hold back the passion and warmth in his heart as he darted forward and rushed inside. There were 3 people inside the hall. One of them was Iketu, who had gone back earlier than Who are you, and was the one laughing. There were 2 young men standing opposite him. The person on the left was at least 1 meter 90 centimeters tall. His shoulders were broad, and he looked as majestic as could be. His tall, muscular appearance gave people the feeling he was as stalwart and steady as a mountain. The person on the right wore a long, flowing robe, and there was a faint smile on his handsome face. His eyes were deep, while his long hair draped over his shoulders. He was more elegant and valiant looking than the other person, but there was an added tinge of scholarliness. Eldest senior brother, second senior brother, third senior brother. Who are you? exclaimed and leapt forward. The person on the left was Shu Sanchi, and the person on the right was Bei Bei. They saw Who are you barrel into the room, and were ecstatic as they hurried forward along with Iketu. The 4 of them shared a warm hug. They couldn't calm their excitement for a long time, and it took a while before everybody could restrain themselves. Bei Bei looked at Who are you with that faint smile on his face and said, "You finally returned, little junior brother. It's been 2.5 years. A total of 2.5 years." Who are you? nodded vigorously and replied, "I know, right? 2.5 years. I have longed to return home for such a long time, but the exchange program took so long to end. I've missed everyone so much. Eldest senior brother. Is everyone doing all right?" Bei Bei smiled and said, "We are extremely good. How is it? The Tang Sect is starting to take shape. How does it feel?" Who are you? said sincerely, "Thank you for your troubles, eldest senior brother and third senior brother. I didn't expect us to be able to have our own territory in just 2 years. Even though it's still incomplete, it's indeed starting to take shape." Bei Bei said, "We are waiting for you to take the reins. You have to bear this mantle of taking care of the Tang Sect in the future." "Me?" Who are you? was taken aback. He tossed his head from side to side and said, "No, no. How can I do that? It should be you guys who take charge." Shu Sanchi laughed heartily and said, "What did I say? I knew this fellow would shirk his responsibility. Who would want to fight with you for this tiring job?" Bei Bei pulled a long face and said, "Little junior brother, the Tang Sect's development in the future will be mainly focused on soul tools, and both Iketu and you are soul engineers." Who are you? said, "I will try my best to help the Tang Sect. However, only you can be the Tang Sect's overall director. I can be responsible for the forging of soul tools and related technology, but I know nothing about coordinating and managing a sect." Bei Bei laughed and said, "I know nothing either. We will learn if we experiment a few times." "All right, you've just returned from a long journey, so let's not talk about all this. Sit down and take a break." "All right. All right." Who are you? answered happily and sat down, his heart still excited. He finally had time to survey the conference hall's layout. The layout was simple and unadorned, with green tiles lining the floor, while the furniture was the color of red dates, and exuded a minimalistic and unornamented feel as well. There was a long table in the middle, with 20 chairs on either side. The main seat was in the north, facing the south. Iketu said, "Eldest senior brother, how far has the Tang Sect developed? Tell me and little junior brother about it, eh?" Bei Bei nodded and answered, "The Tang Sect is developing rapidly, and its speed has exceeded my personal estimations. The blueprints that little junior brother sent back were the catalysts. The blueprints that Who are you had recorded in the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy had all been sent back to Bei Bei, and Bei Bei had replicated each one of them before he handed them over to the academy. Now, Shrek Academy had blueprints of all the soul tools that the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy possessed. However, several models of soul tools that Who are you had designed and invented himself were only available to the Tang Sect. This decision was made after Bei Bei discussed it with Who are you via letters, and after they explained their reasons to the Sea Gods Pavilion. In the end, the Tang Sect would need funds if they wanted to expand. They would only be able to gather more talents and prodigies if they had funds, so that they could flourish and develop properly. Shrek Academy had become the Tang Sect's greatest support and backup. The academy had provided them with money in advance, and they nominated students who had graduated from both the outer and inner courtyard, but didn't have a sect. If these students were willing, they could join the Tang Sect. They were just starting out, so there were very few students who wanted to join the Tang Sect. However, following the speedy advancement of Shrek Academy's Soul Tool department, the Tang Sect would become one of the best places to go in the near future. This was also an opportunity that Bei Bei had grasped with his sharp insight. An academy was an academy, after all. Academies could nurture prodigies and talents, but they couldn't really keep them. This was especially so for students who graduated from the outer courtyard, who could only leave after their 6 years of studies if they couldn't make the cut for the inner courtyard. However, sects were different, and disciples could stay at a sect for a lifetime once they were a part of it, as long as the sect was powerful enough, and they could provide conducive environments for cultivation and financial stability. Then they would be able to keep these talents and prodigies indefinitely. Because of this fact, Shrek Academy had devised a plan to establish their own sect before Elder Mu passed away. However, Shrek Academy was simply too popular. Establishing a Shrek sect wasn't realistic at all, and would definitely attract disputes and trouble. The Tang Sect was different. It had a long history, and an intimate connection with Shrek Academy, so using Shrek Academy as support to recreate the Tang Sect was not a bad choice. What Bei Bei regretted most was that he wasn't able to confirm everything back in the day, so he was never able to relay the good news to Tanya, and he wanted to make sure everything was confirmed and in place before he could give her a pleasant surprise. However, he had never expected Tanya to disappear without a trace once she departed. The Tang Sect will be divided mainly into the inner hall and the outer hall. Our inner hall and outer hall are different from the academy's inner and outer courtyards. The inner hall is responsible for administrative matters, management, manufacturing soul tools, etc., while the outer hall is responsible for foreign policy and handling worldly affairs. For example, the outer hall will be responsible for corporate communications, battles, and whatnot. The inner hall has more than 30 people, and in addition to some veteran craftsmen, the outer hall is almost 100 people. We can produce 10 of your Juga Divine crossbow cannons every month, and this is already the fastest we can go. Orders are all from Shrek City and the academy. Sanchi is in charge of the outer hall. We are still in the early phases, and we have taken in some students from the outer courtyard, but not a single student from Shrek's inner courtyard is willing to join us. However, I believe that everything will be fine as the Tang Sect becomes increasingly stronger. Bei Bei thus explained the Tang Sect's organizational structure, as well as the inner hall and the outer hall's branches, to Who are you and Iketu. The Tang Sect's Soul Tool Forge imitated the illustrious Virtue Hall in some senses. Even if they weren't completely underground, half of the workshop was below ground, and some key components were completed in the basement, while normal components were produced in the foundry above ground. The only soul tool that the Tang Sect was currently producing was the Juga Divine crossbow cannon, along with some cannon shells. However, they would need at least 2 years to meet the purchase orders from Shrek City and Shrek Academy. I wanted to wait for your return to discuss this with you, Yuao. Do you think we can export the Juga Divine crossbow cannon? If we can export it, then we will immediately see an increase in the volume of sales. Manpower isn't really a problem, and the Academy Soul Tool department has been trying internships and field work at our place, and we can pay them in return for their aid in creating formation arrays and miscellaneous components. Huo Yua shook his head and said, eldest senior brother, I think it's better if we hold off on exporting the Qiu'er divine crossbow cannon. If the budget allows, we can increase production and store some inventory. We will discuss the exporting issue when I return from the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament. Bei Bei said, with the Qiu'er divine crossbow cannon's unique characteristics, I'm sure both the Sun Moon Empire and Heavenly Soul Empire will be extremely interested if we show it to them. Manufacturing Qiu'er divine crossbow cannons is extremely complicated, but it doesn't require too much precious metal to make them. Cannon shells alone contribute to most of our revenue. I've already discussed it with the Academy, and the Soul Tool Department will open a special district for us to hire more skilled craftsmen so that we can mass produce soul cannon shells. The stationary cannon shells will be shifted back to Shrek City for storage. We will only sell those below class 4 to the outside world, which we can mass produce. Huo Yua replied, you can make this decision yourself, eldest senior brother. Bei Bei laughed and said, when I first test-fired your Qiu'er divine crossbow cannon, both Xu Sanqi and I were shocked. We had the feeling that it would have been difficult even for us to emerge unscathed if we had been the targets. However, the Tang Sect's production cannot be so limited. We will need more funds if we want to develop better. So reaping a profit from wars and conflicts is a must. A look of anxiety flashed in his eyes. The Sun Moon Empire has become more overbearing and dominant over the past 2 years. Even though they're still fighting for the throne internally, the crown prince that has the advantage seems to be from the hardline faction, so war might be inevitable if he eventually ascends to the throne. The guy with no legs. Qiu'er asked with a hint of astonishment. Bei Bei nodded and said, don't underestimate him. This Xu Tianran is exceptionally impressive. He has the courage and the wits, and he's from the pro-war hardline faction. If Huo Yua hadn't sent back those blueprints, we would still be clueless that the 3 native empires of the Douluo continent have been lagging so far behind them in soul tool development. They will rely on advanced soul tools and masses of soul engineers, and I think neither the Daluo Empire nor the Heavenly Soul Empire can defend themselves if the Sun Moon Empire eventually launches an invasion. Xu Sanqi added, at that time, our Qiu'er divine crossbow will be extremely useful. Qiu'er laughed and agreed, definitely. The Qiu'er divine crossbow cannon that our little junior brother has designed combines the Tang Sect's Qiu'er divine crossbow's gear mechanisms with soul power consumption. It's similar in strength to a class 5 stationary soul cannon, but it can be fired repeatedly while it doesn't expend much soul power at all. Normal people can operate the crossbow if it has been charged with soul power beforehand, and that is a characteristic that no other soul tool has. The cannons will become extremely formidable if there are enough of them. The Qiu'er divine crossbow cannon Huo Yua had designed wasn't that mighty in terms of power and force. However, it could use many different types of stationary soul cannon shells, and its most frightening aspect was the same one that he had shown to Jing Chen. He drew upon the Tang Sect's machine type hidden weapon, the Qiu'er divine crossbow, and its automatic mechanisms. It was exceptionally simple and convenient to operate, to the point where even soul grandmasters could operate it. If Huo Yua could use that sealed milk bottle that Sun Wen had designed, then the Qiu'er divine crossbow cannon could be directly operated by normal soldiers, and they would only have to switch milk bottles after firing for a period of time. Of course, because the Qiu'er divine crossbow cannon was a stationary soul tool, there was a corresponding high demand for stationary soul cannon shells. The item itself was quite large so it could store more cannon shells, and thus it was more suitable for defense, and wasn't as effective when used defensively. Huo Yua said, eldest senior brother, I have made some refinements and improvements to the Qiu'er divine crossbow cannon. We can add these changes into our next batch, and I have drawn detailed blueprints. I have several other designs that we can try producing as well. Bei Bei laughed and said, all right, there's no rush. You've just returned, and yet all we talk about are these things. We're going to participate in the big competition again after a few months. Are you confident? I promised Elderson that we will definitely win, and only then did he allow us to focus on the Tang Sect instead of on our cultivation. Huo Yua chuckled and said, you're the team leader. This question should be directed at you. Bei Bei said, are you trying to shirk your responsibilities again? I will check later whether you've overlooked your cultivation over the past 2 years while you worked on soul tools. Huo Yua laughed, but said nothing. Qiu'er chimed in from the side and said, you didn't see what happened, eldest senior brother. Back in the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, Huo Yua faced off against the Academy's elites himself, and he practically walked over them. The championship will definitely be ours. We took the trophy 5 years ago, and it will be no different this time. Bei Bei said, we can't be too complacent. We have many adversaries, and the competition will be held in the Sun Moon Empire. I believe the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy will be determined and committed to take the crown as well. We might not be able to take it down as smoothly as you think. Xu Sanqi said, you're worrying over nothing. You'll see what I can do when the time comes. If it's a single elimination match, I think I alone will probably be enough. Bei Bei shot a glare at him and said, enough about the competition. You should deal with Nanan first before anything else. Xu Sanqi crumpled like a deflating balloon and plopped onto the ground when he heard Nanan's name, and he suddenly looked a little sullen and dejected. Huo Yua said, oh yes, we're a 4th senior sister and 5th senior sister. Where's Wang Dong? Bei Bei smiled faintly and said, you only just remembered. They're all busy, and you will see them very soon. There's an important activity in the inner courtyard today, and it should have been conducted earlier, but eldest senior sister postponed it continuously to wait for you, and he came to return. The date was fixed only when we confirmed you were on your way back. Huo Yua knew that the eldest senior sister Bei Bei referred to as Zhang Sun. She was truly the most powerful student of the inner courtyard, and she was already part of the Sea God's Pavilion. What activity? Huo Yua asked curiously. Bei Bei replied mysteriously, I'm not going to tell you for now, so that you will be even more pleasantly surprised afterwards. You only need to know that this is the most important activity in the entire history of the inner courtyard. We will tell you when the activity is about to start. Huo Yua stared at the mysterious and secretive expressions on Bei Bei and Xu Sanqi's faces, and then at the look of befuddlement on his second senior brother's face. He didn't really understand what was going on, and he had no idea what this activity could be about. Will Wang Dong return in time to participate? Huo Yua asked once more. He couldn't help but think about the young girl he had encountered when he brought up Wang Dong's name. He wanted to ask Bei Bei about her, but he figured that Wang Dong's sister had probably just arrived at the academy to participate in the entry examination, and she probably wasn't officially part of the academy yet. Eldest senior brother had been at the Tang Sect his whole time, so he probably didn't know much either. Of course, he wasn't sure whether it was simply because he was embarrassed about asking in the first place. He will definitely make it back in time. Bei Bei laughed again as the tinge of mystery in his smile seemed to become thicker. That's good. Eldest senior brother, 3rd senior brother, 2nd senior brother, and I will talk about some of the blueprints that we have brought back with us. We shall discuss which soul tools are most appropriate for production to benefit the Tang Sect. Let's also talk about our expansion issues. Huo Yua retrieved the invaluable starlight sapphire ring from his finger as he spoke. It was his own ring, and not the one that Jing Chen had given him. He had exchanged precious metals for this in Radiant City, and it wasn't easy. All the good stuff was stored inside. Yes. Bei Bei's expression grew serious. Xu Sanqi was staring at him at this moment, and he passed an inquisitive look to Bei Bei. The corner of Bei Bei's mouth curled into a faint smile, and he responded with a slight shake of his head. Xu Sanqi made a disdainful gesture before he turned back towards Huo Yua with a piteous look as Huo Yua laid the blueprints out across the table. Huo Yua immediately became extremely focused when soul tools were concerned. The activity that he was just talking about was thrown to the back of his mind, and he quickly entered the zone as he began to explain his principles and concepts. Qiu'er chipped in and added things from time to time. Qiu'er's mastery of soul tools was actually far superior to Huo Yua's, but he had no choice but to master it a little when he was at the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. Their research directions were different. Huo Yua researched close combat soul tools that were more suitable for himself, and he investigated certain concepts regarding the combination of the Tang Sect's hidden weapons and soul tools, while Qiu'er was responsible for designing and experimenting with forging these soul tools. They didn't seem like they interacted much at the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, but they actually coordinated with each other through letters. They had applied the ultimate solder plan's methods of infiltration and penetration to their exchange studies. Time quickly passed, and the sky turned dark. Huo Yua and Qiu'er decided to remain at the Tang Sect that night, and the 4 of them worked late into the night. They only went to rest when they finalized the Tang Sect's general direction for the next couple of years. The night passed by peacefully. The next morning, Bei Bei and Xu Sanqi took Huo Yua and Qiu'er to the Tang Sect's foundry. The 2 of them made some adjustments to the foundry based on their own experiences, and they gave a few suggestions based on the plans they had devised. The foundry was bound to be expanded, and the safest place to expand into was Shrek Academy's Soul Tool Department. According to the suggestions they had put forth the previous day, they would immediately build an underground warehouse beneath the Tang Sect to store precious soul tools. Qiu'er would become the person in charge of the Tang Sect's branch and Shrek Academy's Soul Tool department, and he would be responsible for the supervision and forging of soul tools. The advanced stationary soul cannon shells that he had been investigating over the past 2 years were about to enter the experimental and production phase. Qiu'er had to remain at Shrek Academy to finish his studies while he continued designing soul tools with K2. Of course, this wouldn't take too long. Qiu'er had been waiting for one person to return, and if that person did show up, then he would be released from designing soul tools and would focus on his own close combat soul tools. Furthermore, there were more important things for him to accomplish after graduation, but all those were stories for later. Another day passed by as they hustled along. Qiu'er and K2 quickly became familiar with the Tang Sect's various tasks and administration. The foundry had gone through drastic changes after the addition of 2 professional high-level soul engineers. Qiu'er and K2 tweaked and adjusted some machines used to forge soul tools, and they crafted some machines themselves. The various precious metals Qiu'er had sent back were put to use, and the Tang Sect hidden with Shrek City's walls was starting to look like a machine operating at top speed. Take a break, little junior brother. Bei came into the foundry and interrupted Qiu'er, who was still working away. Eldest senior brother. Qiu'er chortled as he surveyed the dirt and stains on his body. I can't sit around idly. I really want to make up for the past 2 years as I watch the Tang Sect become more prosperous every day. Bei laughed and said, your contributions to the sect cannot be estimated this way. An influential and powerful sect is not established overnight. Also, do you remember the activity I told you about the other day? It will be held tomorrow, so you shouldn't stay at the Tang Sect tonight, and you should follow me to the Sea Gods Pavilion. Sanchi and K2 will tag along, so that it's easier for us to attend the event tomorrow. Okay. Qiu'er didn't really have much of an opinion about his eldest senior brother's instructions, and he acknowledged them with a nod of his head before returning to his work. They were going to participate in the Continental Advanced Soulmaster Academy Soul Dueling Tournament in a few months. Bei and Sanchi seemed as relaxed as they could be on the surface, but everybody knew that this competition under their leadership was exceptionally important to them in the academy. This was especially true since the competition was going to be hosted in the Radiant City, which would demand a lot more from them. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.